So there's tons of articles on this, and I thought that I'll spend today to talk about how I saved $100,000 by age 25. So it seems that there are several articles floating around on this, which is basically how do you save $100,000 by 25 or $100,000 by 30. So I thought I'll spend today to talk about how I save $100,000 by the age of 25. So as context, I did manage to save $100,000 by the age of 25, and I also bought my first freehold rental property by the age of 26. And I want to add that by 25, most of that $100,000 was not through investment gains. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, this wasn't any inheritance. I started from zero to get to 100K by 25 years old. So keep watching to hear what are the tips that I recommend for how to save your $100,000 before you turn 25, and how it really is an achievable goal for most of you guys that are listening out there who are looking to save $100,000. The first tip is really to set a time-based goal. So if you're looking to save $100,000 by the age of 25 and you're 22 right now, you basically have to do the calculations for how much you got to save at the end of each month. And this would be a function of how much you earn minus how much you spend, and that gives you your savings basically. But by working that out, it gives you a very clear picture of how much you need to save a month. So for example, if you were to save 100K by age of 25 and you start working at 22, you basically need to around 36 months to save $2,800 a month. And for you to save that amount, it would mean that you need to have an income of way above $2,800 and to have expenses reduced so that you can save that amount. And evidently, if your starting take-home pay is at 2.8K, which is quite average for the starting salary in Singapore, then it's not enough to reach your goal. So then it will mean that you have zero expenditure, which is not a practical assumption to have. Which brings me to my next point. The second goal is to start as early as you can. And this is very important because it then gives you a longer time frame to start earning income and to start saving. So if you think about yourself saving from the time you're 18 to the time you're 25, it's a lot easier to reach a $100,000 goal because you need to set aside less each month. So it is important, in my opinion, to start saving as early as possible, and it's something that has worked really well for me as well. So in my university years, I actually had a part-time job where I was interning at a tech incubator. At the same time, I was also getting part-time tuition. So both these jobs combined together gave me a combined income of $1,300 a month. And with that, I also drastically cut down on my expenses, be it food as well as travel. And that allowed me to, one, pay for my university fees without taking a loan, and second, I was able to start saving up some money. It wasn't significant, but by the end of my graduation, I had around $10,000 in the bank. The third thing, which is quite evident as well, if you look at income minus expenses equals to savings, the third thing is really to keep your expenditure low if you're not able to hit the savings that you need a month. And this, for me, it was really quite clear when I set up my financial goals. Given that I was earning around $1,300 a month, I really tried to cut down on my expenses. And to be honest, I wasn't always this way. Before I was working and was getting a allowance from my parents, I would tend to spend it all. Looking back, I really wish that I actually saved more of the allowance they gave me instead of going to Orchard Road and having really good meals and buying Starbucks drinks and cakes and having tea all the time. If I didn't spend that amount of money, I would have saved more than 10K by the time I graduated. So this mindset also does carry on into your tertiary years and into your working years, is to keep the expenditure low instead of having what is commonly termed as lifestyle creep, which is whenever your income increases, you also increase your expenditure. And if that happens, it is not likely that you're able to save the amount of money that you need to by the age of 25. Some actionable ways to save money that I practiced in my earlier years was to, one, keep food expenses low. For me, I try to keep it under $5, and that usually involves eating at hawker centers, food courts, and I usually get things like vegetables, eggs. May not be the healthiest thing. I have since changed my diet since then, but what I did at the time is to really keep food expenses low, because I really wasn't spending on that many other things, and the main expenses for me was really food and travel, because those were the essentials. So I was really spending probably like under $5 for a meal when I was working in the CBD area. And another way to keep expenses low is basically pack food from home, and that usually is also cheaper and probably healthier as well. The second thing that is actionable is to have a few quality pieces for work instead of chasing trends to buy many pieces of clothing that don't actually last. And that really is helpful, because you could be spending $100 on a really well tailored dress for work instead of spending $50 each time on several dresses that are trendy but not timeless, or they are not as well made, so they don't actually last, and you might have to toss them out after a few wears. Now the third thing, which I think is pretty obvious, is taking public transport. But I do know for some people, when you get on the whole like taking Uber or Grab, it becomes very convenient, and it then becomes almost like second nature for you. Once you get out of bed, you're late for work or you're late for school, and you immediately call Grab, call an Uber when it was still in Singapore. And whenever you do that, your average travel expenses will go up to beyond $10 a day, and that is significant if you're taking Grab a few times a week, or even like let's say even 10 times a month. That would set you back by $100 to $200 depending on the distance of travel. So I would say to plan your route well and to take public transport whenever possible. And the last actionable point is to keep social activities low cost. So I know that it's very tempting, especially in your teens or early 20s, to go out with your friends. You're going out to the nightclubs, you're going to the bars, clubs, restaurants, cafes, and all these things do cost a significant amount of money. It is very tempting to go to like a cafe on a weekend, or to even go cafe hopping where you're spending I would say $20 each time, and this would then become like quite a hefty expense if you add it all up. So what I did in my teens, and I still do now, is that whenever I do meet my friends, I don't always choose to go to these high-end places. It's not that I don't go to them, but I don't choose to go there all the time, which is my mindset towards spending. I don't believe that all social activities need to be in snazzy, nice ambience places. A good conversation can still be had in a hawker center or kopitiam over like a $1 cup of coffee. So with that said, that brings me to the most important point, which is to increase your income. Because there really is a limit to how much you can save by scrimping and saving. And your income is really the thing that you can really impact, especially in your early 20s, to change how much you can earn and save every month. And that brings me to another important point. It is very important in your early 20s to build skills that are valuable to the industry that you're working in, because that allows you to be able to command a higher salary in that market. I would say that this is actually the most important point, because at the end of the day, we only have 24 hours a day, and what you want to be able to do, especially if you're an employee in your early 20s, is to increase your hourly rate. So instead of working a job that pays you $10 an hour, there is a maximum to how much, there really is a cap to how much you can earn a month. But if you can drastically improve or increase the hourly rate, if you have a higher skilled job or you're valued in the industry that you're in, then that really changes the equation for how much you can save every month, and that brings you a lot closer to your savings goal by 25 or by 30. So besides work, you can also do side hustles. So even if you were teaching tuition in your teens, you can still continue to do it. Or if you have a skill like photography or video editing or singing or writing, copywriting, you can still use the skills. It's possible for you to have a side income, especially if you have a skill. So why not utilize that, and at the same time you get more industry experience, which could add to your main job as well. So that would be the most important point of the 4 points when it comes to saving 100K by the time you're 25. With all that said, saving 100,000 by the age of 25 or any age in my opinion, should not be seen as a barometer for success. If anything, it really just serves as a foundation for your financial buffer or emergency savings, if you will. Because from my time investing in tech, I've seen entrepreneurs go from dirt poor to being financially very successful because they spent, they spend a lot of their time really making their businesses work, which leads to a good financial payout at the end if they sell their businesses, or if they cash out their shareholdings in the company. Definitely don't see $100,000 by age of 25 or 30 as somebody who's made it in life. I really wouldn't say that. It really is financial buffer for you to be able to feel more comfortable about taking more risks later on in your career if you need to, or to be able to take time out to spend time with your family or friends, or to pursue the passions that you want to. Because when you have that financial freedom, it's much easier to make those decisions instead of being bound to a job just because you don't have savings to let you do what you want to do in the future. So that's it. Those are my tips for how to save $100,000 by 25. I probably will talk a little bit more about how I bought my first freehold rental property at the age of 26. That was a goal that I had at 25. It is still debatable on whether or not that was a good decision, but that will be for the next video, so make sure to subscribe for that, and feel free to comment below and like this video for the algorithm, and smash the like button and subscribe. So I'll see you the next time.